It's just like hitting, right? The more information we have, it's like I tell the kids, I'm like, if we're making decisions, at 50 to 55 feet, we're not going to be very good. We got to make decisions at 58 feet and really have all the information. And, just as much as everybody talks about, in the big leagues and the stuff is getting better, it's like, it's obviously a trickle down, right? I mean, the stuff is getting better at all levels. And, there's high school pitchers out here, with a lot of velocity, with a lot of run. There's a lot of high school pitchers focusing on velocity, which creates a little bit of a difficult task of maybe not focusing on control as much and needing to really be able to defend that. So I think that when you had said that, I think previously was the idea of like, just the more information we have, the better decisions we're going to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I am kind of interested in the thought of, or I guess the progression of, we've talked about making later decisions, and obviously that being better. That's still very much, a foundation of what we do, and a lot of that has to do with taking in more information on the pitch. But I do wonder at sometimes, like, at what point do we progress even from that? Like, where we get so good at that, is it then beneficial to start exploring maybe with how early we can see things going wrong with the pitch? I think that, that component, if it makes sense, is a big key to a catcher's adjustability on the receiving front. If we have the right visuals, we have the right approach to the pitch, we're looking to execute on this fastball, arm side down. Obviously, the earlier I can see a pitch coming offline, the easier I'm going to be able to adjust to it. So that's kind of something that we've been looking at or experimenting with and talking to our guys about. But ultimately, yeah, I think the more information you have, and if you're really training your instincts and your reflexes as opposed to just movement patterns, then I think you're adding a lot of things to your tool belt.
And I think early recognition is great. Obviously, we talked about comparatively to hitting, but the best hitters recognize something early and their body then adjusts to create the timing that they need, right? And I think that's the tough part is you have like the early recognition that, this ball's going to be in the dirt. But then the biggest detriment to our blocking is that we're down on the ground too early and don't have enough information as to where it is, or we've started to make a path with our glove to receive it and we don't have all the information. So trying to get guys to train in an environment of like, hey, see it as early as you want, recognize it as early as you want, but you've got to then create the path to receive. You've got to then time the block to be in that position. And that's the piece to me that is the challenge in the training environment, is that.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. And that probably kind of sums up what I was getting at even better than I can say it. But yeah, there has to be advantages to picking up things earlier, right? And like you look at an amateur player, especially on the younger side of the spectrum, you've probably gotten this a lot. It's like, hey, I got this 10-year-old, this 11-year-old, and he can't block, right? He's not making that decision to block. The reality of that situation is he's making a decision. He's just making it far too early, and he's making the wrong one, right? It's not that he's not seeing or reading the block. It's that he's seeing that ball out of hand, and sometimes even before the pitcher even lets go of the ball, and he's deciding that he's going to catch it in the air, and he's fully committed to that. And once you get to that point, it's very hard to change, right? But yeah, I think that kind of what you summed up there would be my kind of argument on time management versus timing. I think they're two completely separate things. I think timing gets a lot easier when you manage your time better. And so when you look at receiving, when you look at how people talk about receiving, even blocking, a lot of it comes with this timing kind of cue or thought or principle behind it. But in reality, I think that really corrects itself, and timing gets a lot easier on all fronts when you manage that time better, which is that ability to see something early, but decide when and how you respond to it.
That's super interesting. I've never heard that concept of time management in that. the idea of like, yeah, you can recognize it, but can you manage the time to then be on time?
Yeah. I guess to further that quickly would be like, we'll use the analogy of like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball gets to the plate and whatever that number is, I think it's 4/10 of a second. Are you the catcher that makes that 4/10 of a second feel like a full second, or are you the catcher that makes that 4/10 of a second feel like 1/10 of a second? And I think ultimately that concept right there will influence how you move and how you make decisions more so than anything else.